All right. Go live. There it is. Looks like we're rolling, I think. We're there.
That's what my clock. That's what my clock says.
It
Says
says
20.
we're live on Facebook. Looks like the YouTube chat is rolling. All right, we're live. We're ready to rock. It's the Three Guys Talking Ball podcast. Ethan's gone today. He what, Grant, you got any ideas of what we could make up as to why he wasn't here?
He could have dropped a bottle of wine, and he was upset that he probably spent $38 on a bottle that tastes like ass, so he had to take the night off. It could be because he had a long day of doing HR, and HR doesn't work. Yeah, mental health day for not working because people in HR don't work.
mental health day because his glass of wine broke.
Because his glass of wine broke, correct.
He had an operation. Oh,
after the Twins won 12 in a row, they've lost 2 of the last 3. He needed to take a day off to clear his head about that, even though they play 162 games.
You know what? You can't be too picky though, because they did just win. Like, was it 13 of 14 or 12 of 13? Is that what it was? Something like that.
Yeah, 12 in a row. Lost on Sunday, won Monday, lost Tuesday, up today. So we shall see.
Yeah, well, it was the AL Central. It's actually like probably the most surprising thing in baseball at the moment. Probably of like it, instead of like one team winning by like pulling away, it's like we're actually like four of the 5 team or 5. Well, yeah, 4 of the 5. Yeah, White Sox are awful. Like,
they're dead. The White Sox are dead.
They are dead. But like the other 4 teams are actually like this team. Any of the 4 really wouldn't surprise you as far as who comes out of there.
It's a lot like the AFC South in the NFL this last year. You're going to have a bunch of mediocrity, and some team is going to win it at the end. And who knows? Maybe some team, gets in the playoffs and they can win a wild card series, and surprise some people and have a nice future. But then they're going to get their ass kicked in the divisional round, just like how Houston, got destroyed by Baltimore. So the winner might have 90 games this year if we're the mirror of positivity, like we would to say we are. 90 and 72, or probably closer to 88 and 74. Who knows? They, like I said, they might win a 3-game wild card, and then they're going to get bounced in the divisional. So,
I don't want to say that because I mean, if you look at last year, the Diamondbacks were a team that snuck in right at the end, and then they ended up sweeping the Dodgers and then making it all the way to the World Series. So, you don't want to say that. I don't think the Twins have the pitching to really compete like they had last year. I think that was a big part of the success as to why they played as well as they did. But I don't think the pitching worries me, and just their inability, their studs, Royce Lewis, Byron Buxton, inability to stay healthy is
they're made of glass.
Yeah, it's the SOT, same old Twins, unfortunately.
And you know what? It's not a matter of if they're going to get hurt. It's a matter of when and how much time are they going to miss. Let's just call a spade a spade.
Yeah, that's right. But
another one of those things: death, taxes, and the Twins' 2 best players getting hurt.
That's true. But the Wolves, we'll get to them in a little bit here. Did you get to check out any of the Tom Brady roast at all?
So I wasn't able to catch the live show on Sunday, but through social media and some other stuff, saw some of the jokes that were said on Sunday, and I got to give it to him. A good roast from what I've seen. I I'm not going to go out and say it's the best roast I've ever seen. Let's take.
What would you say was the best
there.
roast you've ever seen?
So the first roast I saw and I watched on TV from start to finish was the Justin Bieber roast. That one was hilarious.
Oh, yep.
Oh my gosh, it was me, Caleb, Courtney, and Courtney's roommate at the time. We all watched together. It was hilarious. The Charlie Sheen roast was great.
I think that was the first one I watched. It premiered as the new 2.5 Men. Because that was I think the Charlie Sheen one, that was like the first big one that I remember like being televised or promoted I remember the one Steve-O joke of Charlie, your nose is a lot like my ass because there's nothing that I won't stick up it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember that one, and then the Donald Trump one was hilarious.
I have not seen that one.
It was good. It was good. That was before he was the president and even thought about running to be president. At that point, he was just a billionaire New York real estate guy who had The Apprentice and went on Comedy Central. So that one was funny. Yeah, those are the ones that stick out the most. But I will eventually catch the full roast from Tom, and we'll be able to make a determine to see if it's the best one I've ever seen. But like I said, from some of the jokes I've seen so far, they're funny, and I think it's going to be good.
And I've tried to avoid watching them because I don't want to. I don't want it to like completely spoil it. It's like a 3-hour roast too, so like you almost have to clear your schedule. Maybe that's what we should do next week. Is we watch that and we review the roast. But
maybe not next week, but maybe the week after, because
that's old news by then.
Well, that's because I'm going to watch it because I actually have a plan to watch it with Caleb in Florida.
There you go.
Next week when I go down. So because it's funny, he watched about 15 minutes of it, and then Courtney looked at him and said, this is too much. So he had to turn it off. So I'll be down visiting those guys next week. So that's when I was planning on watching it anyway.
Okay. And then I got to do some play-by-play this weekend. I got to do the play-by-play for the North Star Conference, which is the conference Dickinson State plays in. They hosted it. The DSU softball team, which I got to call a couple of their games as well, they actually made it to they won their conference tournament. They're going to be playing down in Missouri in the national tournament. The guys team, or the guys, it was team Bellevue University. They're based out of, I think it's like Bellevue, Nebraska. It's a suburb of Omaha. And they are a team. I tell you what, was that the team? They hit.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. But yeah, they hit 88 home runs going into the conference tournament. And I did the math. It was like, I think they played like 48 games. So like almost averaging, basically rounding up to a game. And I think they hit 3 in the first game I did. The second game I called of theirs, nobody was hitting any home runs that day. It was way too windy and it was coming in. Like the press box was terrible. I had my sheets flying everywhere. But they're also like they're a team that they don't beat themselves. Like they're so fundamentally sound. You didn't see them commit an error. The 2 games that I called for them, they won on a walk-off home run in the 7th inning by the 10-run rule. And then the second game, they won like 6 or 7-0 and didn't use 3 pitchers because the one game went the whole way. So they brought in their closer for the 9th. Didn't even need him. The guy that pitched, he didn't face more than 4 batters in the 8 innings he pitched.
Wow.
It was nuts.
Wow.
Like there was, I want to say it would have been in like the 8th, or it was either the 7th or the 8th. I can't remember. But so they had runners on first and second, and guy up. They had Valley City at the time was still in it. The guy up hits a liner over to first base. The guy on first for Valley City was leading off a little bit too far. He went running. The guy at first base catches it, runs, touches first, out of the inning. So it was like I was talking about it before. I was like, it looks like we're gonna see this streak of only facing 4 hitters end, and then all of a sudden that happens. It's like, oh, never mind. Also,
and it's over.
Yeah, and they also, because they used one of their first games of the day, they used one of my calls on their TikTok page, and I commented, I was like, hey, I know that voice, that's me. And then they responded, which, again, Grant, you know me, humblest guy, their words, not mine. Voice of the NSAA, which I don't know if that's I don't know how much I can really say because I've only done 2 of their games. I would have loved to do more Blue Hawk games throughout the year, but their schedule was all like where they would play at like 1:00, 1 and 3 on like a Tuesday afternoon. So I couldn't really do. Yeah, I wish.
Yeah, you can't do that.
But it was a fun. Their head coach actually was the before he went to Bellevue, he was the head coach at DSU for the longest time. He played there too. He played football, basketball, and baseball, and is probably in the discussion for the greatest Blue Hawk player, like athlete of all time. He just surpassed like the 800 win mark in his career for coaching. He was a football coach as well. Played a couple of years in the National Indoor Football League. So you talk about an athlete. That's that Dwayne Monlux right there.
That's just him right there.
But the yeah. So also, I'm gonna get to go golfing finally for the first time on Saturday. Finally, try out my new driver.
You gonna try to go out and hit some bombs, or at least act like.
Well, I'm gonna swing. I mean, new driver. I mean, would I be doing it right if I don't swing as hard as I could? Who cares about technique? Who cares about having a nice compact swing? But new driver, you got to swing as hard as you can and just absolutely try to piss pound it.
Oh, 100%. You got to break that puppy in.
Thank you. Exactly.
You got, and for some reason, if it doesn't fix your slice or your curve, well, it's not your fault. It's still the club's fault.
Exactly. Well, so the new driver I bought, it's supposed to be a draw driver, which I am a natural. According to the simulator I go to, it says it's a hard fade, but more so a slice. I contend it's just a hard fade. Everybody else tells me it's a slice, but a draw driver, it's supposed to help straighten out your slice. So we're gonna find out here. But
that's exciting.
I am.
That's exciting.
So, did you see that Kirk Cousins, the article that Albert Breer put out that Kirk Cousins, the reason he left Minnesota was because they told him before the year started that they were gonna draft a quarterback even if he decided to stay, and that was why he went to Atlanta?
Dude, I did, and I think that's absolutely awesome. It's hilarious.
It is.
But it's so funny. It's like, Kirk, the grass is not always greener on the other side.
No. Especially which I mean, part of it is you kind of feel bad for him because you didn't. I mean,
fair.
I also, you see both. You understand both sides of the coin, but at the same time, if you're worrying about a rookie overtaking you, you're probably not the guy, anyways.
Correct. And there's $100 million on the reasons why that Kirk Cousins will be the guy in Atlanta for at least these next 2 years.
Yeah.
So he doesn't.
And I think some of it too is, I think Kirk has kind of that. I don't like a bad light about him. Where I mean, he's a tremendous, and I probably half of the league would take him as the starting quarterback, but they just think that there's something about him that there's not enough belief and trust within him to really turn it around. So Or did you also see the Austin Rivers comment that said 30 NBA players could go play in the NFL right now?
Well, I mean, to JJ Watt's point, he doesn't have a job, so he should stop talking right now.
That's why. Well, I mean, nope. I mean, he's just saying that because he can't play in either one.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like he's a journeyman, full guard, who's not lighting the world on fire. He's just trying to get his name out in the public right now. And after his dad just got embarrassed, another early playoff exit, he's just trying to say anything, and he just got bodied up, just like his dad.
Well, I don't know if you've seen on Hulu, they're doing like a documentary or like a TV series about the whole Donald Sterling situation.
Oh,
and the guy that plays Doc Rivers looks absolutely nothing like Doc Rivers. It's so bad to see. The guy that looks like him is probably the one that's been coaching for Doc these last few years.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Uh-huh.
So, ever since like Game 6 or Game 7, against
whenever they blew that 3-1 lead
in 2014, because wasn't it?
Yep. Yeah, it was.
Well, sorry, which 3-1 lead?
Or no, it was 2015.
2020.
It was when they were up 3-1 on the Rockets, and
2015.
And they were up like 15 going into the fourth quarter and pissed it away and ended up losing.
And Dylan, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't that they lost Game 5 in Houston? Okay, whatever.
Yep.
But didn't they have that huge lead? Was it Game 6 at home in Staples?
Yeah.
Too?
Yeah, they were up like 15 going into the fourth. That's what I was saying. And they and James Harden stayed on the bench. Like he didn't come back in until like the final 90 seconds because the Rockets were playing so well without him. Because in Game 7 in the first round of in the first round of the playoffs, they had that crazy back and forth Game 7 with the Spurs, who were the defending champions at the time, and Chris Paul hit that big shot that put that game winner.
Well, then didn't he also blow a 3-1 lead in the bubble to the Mavericks too? With the Clippers.
Was he the coach of the Clippers then?
I think
he blew it to the Nuggets. He blew it to the Nuggets. That's who it was.
Okay.
Yeah, because that was like one of the few times Nick Wright was actually right. Your boy.
Oh, God, I hate that guy.
No, you can't. He's one of you. But
that's just not true.
No, you all you Chiefs fans are the same. Who was it? Petros Papadakis on Two Pros and a Cup of Joe referred to him as that Squidward looking dude.
Oh my God! Well, his nose is absolutely huge. I mean, God, his nose might be as big as Squidward's house. Like that. But that thing is that big.
Yeah, that was Doc's last year was when they blew that 3-1 lead.
Okay.
To the Nuggets in the bubble. But the now that we're into the playoffs right now, we've got Knicks Pacers game going on right now. That's the only game tonight, and then tomorrow we've got game 2 of the Celtics
Cavaliers.
Celtics cap, yeah. Don't get me started with Orlando. Paolo ain't no dog. Not a dog. Doesn't have that killer instinct. But blow an 18-point lead. And then
he did go to Duke, so that shouldn't surprise us.
That might come up later on here as the way we're gonna do this show, which I think this is gonna be fun. We both Grant and I, we're gonna throw this back, and there's a reason why I did this, Grant. I'm not sure if you figured out why, but when we lived together, we made this like a point of, I don't know. I don't want to say if it was a point of worship, but every day at 11, from about 11 to 2, we would always make sure we would be watching The Herd. It just switched over to Fox. It was on TV, more so because we wanted to look at Christine Leahy because she's still a bad.
God, I love her.
But and Colin always does the segment where Colin was right, where Colin is wrong. So for the NBA, kind of like what we did for football, we want to talk about it more on a general because we don't want to talk about each series because half the time these games get overlaid, which I was never happier than I was on Monday night when the Wolves were up by 28 at halftime, and I was like, and I had to be into work at 5, so I could. So I was like, yes, I can go to bed, thank God. And if the Wolves blow this, I guess you can blame me for going to sleep, but they didn't. And so we're gonna do where we were right, where we were wrong, and one thing that we want to see or that we're gonna find out. We'll see as that something that we think could happen or something that we want to see happen to really kind of, make these playoffs a little bit more interesting. So, and in normal fashion, I don't have we're going to throw it back to the same way. We've got hats, and with the first pick is look at that, Grant, Super Bowl 59 runner-ups, and now the Super Bowl 59 champions. So, Grant, where were you right so far in these NBA playoffs?
Dylan, I'm not going to steal too much thunder from your Orlando Cavs series, but remember when we were doing our mock draft, the playoffs were getting started, and I look at you and I said the home team is going to win every single game in that series?
Yep.
Well, the home team won every single game in that series. So that is where Grant was right.
I have a spin zone here. Technically this series, it didn't happen because the road team won a play. Exactly. Yeah. So that doesn't count. Orlando technically did not lose the series because it never happened.
Okay. Well, I don't know where to start with you because somewhere out there's the real Dylan I know who doesn't make up fake rules for this to happen. But in a court of law, in a weird way, if you were a good lawyer like Johnny Cochran, you could spin that, and that could be the case. But for the sake of argument here and the sake of this segment, words, Grant, that is where Grant was right. I had a hunch in a watered down Eastern Conference, Orlando being the first time in the playoffs in a minute. Cleveland is the team that I really don't trust besides Donovan Mitchell. I felt like the home team, the energy was going to be behind them. They were going to get going, and the home team is going to pull out every single game in this series. And so far, I was right. According to Dylan, the road team never won, so the series never started. Series never happened. But I'm going to say the home team won every single game. So it's where we're at. But Orlando still has a chance to win this thing in 9.
They do. They do. Back in like the early 1900s, like in baseball where they had the best of 9.
Yes.
I missed the fourth quarter because I had to go to the ballpark for doing play-by-play, and so as the game, I saw Orlando gets up 18, and I'm like, all right, awesome, yeah, they got this, they're not blowing this, and then all of a sudden Cleveland starts to make that comeback towards the end of the second quarter. I'm like, well, yep, they're cooked. I've seen this too much. And, I think this was a good year for Orlando, the best season they've had since the bubble year. I think this is, there's a lot of reason for optimism as well. Because as much as I said Paulo ain't that stone cold assassin, can he become that? I think at some point you either figure it out or you don't. I think, who knows, maybe this is going to be the year where he does, but they don't have the shooters, and it sounds like there's some serious interest. I would like to see them. They have a lot of cap space. Yeah, go after Klay Thompson, get some shooters because they're gonna need it, especially for the way Paulo plays and Franz, who are both slashers and like to get into the paint. Guys that can kick it out and find shots on the perimeter. So And they're also tall too. So like, you know, they're good getting offensive boards and just kicking it out to guys off the mist, kind of like what South Carolina women's team did.
Getting those weak side rebounds.
Yep.
On the offensive end. Yep.
So where I was right here, I thought I had some really good ones here. I have the Lakers are a joke. They might hire JJ Redick, which, you know, since we were on the topic of talking about Colin Cowherd, you know, he was talking. He had the backwards hat theory today, and you know, wants to hire JJ Redick, or said that you stray away, and I agree because JJ Redick went on a podcast, had a backwards hat on. You can't trust any podcasters with backwards hats.
You can't. And JJ Redick probably also had a shitty camera too.
Yeah, that's right. Shitty webcam. But I also had Tibbs as still an elite coach. But the one that I'm going to go with, since you didn't take this, is Anthony Edwards is the best player in the NBA. Like what I have on the YouTube and Facebook streams as the title of this. Because, you know, watching him is... You see a guy that wants to be great. You see a guy that has improved his game from his rookie year, because if you remember that when he was drafted, there were questions of does he love the game? Well, you watch him now. There's no doubt about it. The man loves to play ball. We love to talk ball. Anthony Edwards loves to play ball. And he's improved each year. You know, Chris Finch was on the Herd today. Man, this is a very Herd-centric show. But talked about how Anthony Edwards, you know, he's harder on himself than he is on his teammates. If he makes a mistake, he owns up to it. You know, he's that true leader. Guys follow him. Guys want to follow, and that's such a huge part of why they've skyrocketed to the top of the NBA as far as, you know, being right now, I'm sorry, Celtics, but right now with this team up 2-0, I still contend that whoever wins this wins this series is going to win the NBA Finals.
The championship.
And I think it's because of guys like Jokic and guys like Anthony Edwards, who are those killers. And the team follows him. He wants to be great. And seeing him, because I think going into the draft, I kind of went back and I kind of read some of his comps, and it was very much and right now, I mean, you don't want to compare him to Jordan, but at the same time, I mean, the similarities are there. But right now, I think if you want to be a little bit more conservative on that side, you could say he's Dwayne Wade. If you look at their careers, Dwayne Wade with a better jump shot, and he's developed that jump shot from, you know, he came into the league as a slasher, but you know, now he has that strong mid-range game. And Tim Legler talked about it on the Dan Patrick Show about how he has developed so many more combination dribbles to where he's able to get shots up at so many different angles and he can get a shot off of basically anywhere, where, I mean, that's helped his game so much. And when you watch him play, you don't see him like forcing issues. He more so lets the game come to him. He does a really good job of getting others involved, getting Cat the ball, getting Mike Conley involved, getting Gobert, Naz Reid, I'm trying to think who else is on the Wolves. But, you know, he does a good job of getting those role players involved, getting their confidence up and belief. And then when it comes for time to be the closer,
he's doing it.
He turns into Ant-Man, and he is the unquestioned, like, yeah, this is the guy taking the shot. This is the guy. And guys follow him blindly.
Well, you mentioned the Dwayne Wade comparison, and both players were coached by Tom Crean in college. And even coming into the draft, you know, in the fall of 2020, I think it was the fall of 2020.
Yeah, it was.
Dwayne came out and publicly said, Anthony's going to have a better career than me. He's a better athlete. He's going to be a better player. He just kind of has to fine-tune some things and work on it. And, you know, this is giving me Dwayne Wade 06 vibes, where he is just carrying a team that averaged 30-plus points in the playoffs, and he's just going to will this team to win around him. So, it's exciting to see. And Dylan, to your point, with his jump shots, his fadeaway he made the other day, that turnaround in the third or fourth quarter, when he jumped off the wrong foot, and he just made it look smooth like butter. Like that shouldn't happen. And he made it look easy. And he's been clowning everyone so far in these 6 games, just clowning them.
It's like you watch him, and he has that aura, that vibe around him, like something that when you see it, and
correct.
You don't get that. Like I don't think we got it with. I mean, you get some of it with LeBron, but you don't get it with a guy like I never quite got it like with a guy like a Durant,
or even nowadays Jason Tatum,
or Jason Tatum. Yeah, that's what we call a tease. But
Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, you don't see it with those cats. Joel Embiid.
No, you don't. Like and like we said, the guy, he wants to be great.
Mm-hmm.
Everything he does, he has a purpose to it, and he has fun playing the game. Nothing, there's things like if I would like to see him not complain as much, but he's only 22 years old. Which is crazy to think like that was like, were we definitely, we were living together when we were 20, 21, 22 years old. We definitely were not, we didn't have that emotional, we weren't the most mature people ever, were we? And nobody is.
Nobody is.
But I think that's where we do the that wraps up our where we were right. Now, Grant, where were you wrong?
Where was I wrong? I was wrong about this team who always lets us down in the playoffs. And more importantly, I idolized a city, or I didn't idolize. I believed in a city who believes in a fictional movie character. And that would be the Philadelphia 76ers. When your city's hero is a fictional character, it's not even real. It's someone played this, and don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to shit on Sylvester Stallone and Rocky here. Rocky's great. But he's not an actual real person. And I should know this because Philadelphia is just not a real team. Like when Embiid came back off a meniscus injury, they were 31-8 with him this year. They were playing the Knicks. The Knicks, I didn't feel like had a big guy who could slow him down, and they didn't. In that series, I thought Tyrese Maxey was going to be ready to take the next step. I didn't think the Villanova boys would play the way they were playing right now. And I thought Nick Nurse would just have enough playoff experience with that one championship run in Toronto where he's going to make an adjustment or two to get around Tibbs. And I thought the Sixers would advance. And I should be smarter than this. We've had the crying Embiid meme since 2019. It surfaced again. They couldn't finish a game. Nick Nurse doesn't look like a good basketball coach. He looks like a guy who was carried by Kawhi Leonard, who had a lucky shot against the 76ers in the semifinals last game. Tom Thibodeau's a great coach. And the Villanova boys, like I mentioned, they played 3+ years in college by a great coach, by Jay Wright. They are basketball players. They know how to win games in tight situations. Where I was wrong, I was totally wrong on the Philadelphia 76ers. And I should have known that. I should have known that. You can't trust anything to do with Philadelphia. And I drank the Kool-Aid, and they were eliminated in the first round.
This is where I should bonk you on the head, because I know you're a bit. Michael Lombardi's been saying this for the last 10 years about the Sixers, and I seriously like Tyrese Maxey, and I think the Sixers need to stop building around Embiid, and I think they need to build around Tyrese Maxey, because you can't rely on Joel Embiid. There's nothing in his career. He's a good player. He won an MVP Probably shouldn't have. It should have been Jokic. Jokic should have 4 in a row, but we won't get into potentially why he didn't win four MVPs in a row. But the I think this was more of a compliment to the Knicks, because you talked about those Villanova 3, the Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, and that one racist who is a despicable human. Yeah, which I don't know if you remember. Yeah, the guy that was saying words on tweeting words, inappropriate words on Twitter that came to light after during the national championship game that he won. Just doesn't do anything all year, and good for him. He made a career out of it. But I'm not. I'll tell you what, anything.
I can't tell at all. You're humble when you win and when you lose, Dylan.
Yep.
I will say this: the Milwaukee Bucks should not have let him go.
No. Well, no. And I think the thing with the Knicks is that, I think like when one of the topics I have of where I was wrong, and since we're on the topic of it, I'm not gonna. This won't be my where I was wrong, because I have a different one. Is that I didn't think when the Knicks went out and signed Jalen Brunson, I didn't think he was going to be worth a max contract. I thought he was a good player. I thought he should be in that like number 2. Like, I don't think you could make deep playoff runs with him. But I think, this is a Tom Thibodeau type team where, Tibbs, no one's ever doubted his basketball acumen or his ability to coach. He has always clashed with stars because he coaches them too hard.
Mm-hmm.
I think him playing with Brunson, the Villanova 3, which we'll have to call him, is they're used to being coached hard in college by Jay Wright. And, so they don't, Terry and Arnold talked about, when Nick Saban would get after him, is you don't listen to the tone, you got to listen to the message. And I think those Villanova 3, from their experience in college of not listening to the tone, listening to the message, they're coming around and learning, and, they've bought into what Tibbs is saying, and it's why they are the 2 seed. If you remember, there were Knicks fans that were actually pissed that they got the 2 seed because they didn't want to play the Sixers. And it was something they said something along the lines of, if we can't beat a 7 seed, we shouldn't be in the playoffs, or we should. It doesn't matter who we play. We're gonna beat them. And
and one of the Sixers players said after their play-in win against the Heat, they were super pumped because they have the, quote, easier team of the top 2 seeds in the East.
Yep.
I can't remember who it was, but just publicly said, hey, the Knicks aren't good. We ain't worried about these assholes. Thank God we don't have to play Boston.
And you know what? We don't say many nice things about New York teams, but I like this Knicks squad. I do.
This is a New York team.
They play defense.
I can get behind.
This is, and you can see the fans. They've kind of taken on that New York attitude of bring your lunch pail to work, that blue collar work ethic, that the steel workers, the union workers, where they got that reputation, where they're not afraid to go in and do the dirty work. And this is exactly what you said. This is a New York team we could get behind, and the Garden looks absolutely electric. Like, when the Knicks are good, like they people from New York, they talk about how different of a city New York is when the Knicks are good, and you were seeing it right now. Like them taking over the Wells Fargo Arena after they won game 4.
Yep. Well, and like. They call New York the basketball capital of the world for this reason. Madison Square Garden is the basketball capital of the world for this reason right here that we're seeing. Just with the love and the energy and the passion that these fans have. Dude, could you imagine if MJ would have played for the Knicks? and they had the run that they had in New York. Oh my God. Or even like what the Warriors, if they would somehow would have been able to have him and Ewing back-to-back years.
Yeah.
Whew.
But we'll get now I will go to where I was wrong is that the Wolves should cut bait with Cat. I said it. I think I said it with our interview when we had Ross on the podcast. Well, it would have been over a year ago that he complains too much. He's just an energy drain and
energy vampire.
Yep. But this year there was something that clicked in his mind that, and maybe he listened to our podcast, because when you watch Cat play, like, okay, I understand why the Wolves don't want to cut bait with, because he is a really good player. He was the difference of why they've beaten the Suns, and part of the reason why a big reason why they're up 2-0 right now. Because he's bought in finally on the defensive side. He's hitting big shots down low or from three, and he's been good in the paint. But it was every time he was complaining, he had his arms up, flailing. And this year, you actually have seen him turn the corner where he isn't that energy vampire. He's not, he got fouled. He just runs down to the court. You don't see that whining, complaining that you used to out of him.
It's almost like he knew with the Gobert trade, with Edwards coming along, and then putting a lot of money and resources into Jaden McDaniels, he almost knew, like, hey, my time is up. I got to grow up and I got to be an adult here. And you know what? Also, maybe it's taken a couple of years, but maybe listening to Coach Finch, Chris Finch, tell him, not sugarcoating him anymore. Flip Saunders, rest in peace. He's not there to baby him. Flip's son, Ryan, he's out the door now. No one's babying him anymore, and they're not just saying, hey, Cat, we want you to be the savior. You're the franchise. You're the number 1 overall pick. We started this rebuild with you. You got to earn this. And maybe it's just taken him a long time to realize that, but it's refreshing to see.
Yeah.
Because he's gladly taken on this number 2 role.
So Hayden of Armchair Banner, he just commented on YouTube, or I'm just seeing it now, is the Knicks could win the championship and their fans would be mad they didn't get the sweep.
Yes.
Which I respect that out of Knicks fans. Nothing, they can't always be happy all the time. But
I mean, they probably got to, not when they're paying $6,000 a month for rent on the cheap side in New York City. They got to be upset about something.
Yep. Well, and usually for quite a few years lately, it's been because all the teams in New York have been hot garbage. Now the Knicks are good and the Rangers are really good. So we could be seeing like a 1994. Now, the only question remains is, are we going to see a white Bronco chase on the 405 freeway?
God, I hope we do.
Well, if you had to put money on who that would be from somebody in a sport,
Antonio Brown.
Antonio Brown. Oh, man. CTESPN.
CTESPN is back, baby.
Yeah. But Grant, what is your we'll see here for this NBA playoffs?
We'll see. That's that's a good one, and I want to see if the Denver Nuggets truly do have the heart of a champion. Because after the press conference, after their Game 2 loss, Mike Malone said, "Hey, he told his team that that performance was embarrassing. We're the reigning champs. We need to play better than that." Well, just because you're the reigning champs doesn't mean anything. That was last year. Like, stop with those comments, Mike Malone. You're in the History Channel. You can't be doing that. If you're focused on this year, when you say reigning champs, that's something you say in the off season, and that's something you say, if you're looking back into last year, because this year is going to be an absolute disaster. So I want to see if they can sit back, maybe get 4 days to just kind of reset, and come out and see if they play with any life with him. Because that game was over on Monday night when you asked me when he went out on the court and freaked out on that official, and the composure for their whole team was lost. After that, it was done. So I want to see if they can truly sit back like champions, like a team who should win multiple championships in a couple of years here, and get it all figured out. Because if they can't, and if they get swept or if they lose this series in 5 games, the way we're looking at Denver is a 1 year championship run with a Hall of Fame player in Jokic, kind of like Green Bay with the Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers era. If they can't reel us back in and get it together, it's going to be one championship and a 8-year run where they should have more.
Yeah, well, and I think what Mike Malone was doing, I think there was a reason as to why he went out onto the court the way he did, is because I think he felt the way that his team is where they came out flat with no energy. I think he was trying, and now it makes sense as to why the refs didn't tee him up, is because he wanted that technical, because he wanted something that would give him a spark and light a fire underneath their ass. And it just didn't work at all, because I mean they took steps back. I mean, Jamal Murray's throwing heating pads on the court, which Adam Silver is such a spineless coward. How do you not suspect? I mean, he is, people give Goodell a bad rap about being the worst commissioner in sports. And Goodell has his flaws, don't get me wrong. Like he's definitely done some bad things, but I mean, the game has grown underneath Goodell's leadership. The NBA ratings have never been lower. It's far in a far worse spot. Like he completely has mishandled the load management situation. It's so bad that they have to bring in an in-season tournament. Draymond Green's throwing punches at guys, but then he only has to sit out like 5 games, and then for next game back he's doing the same shit. Like he doesn't learn anything, and you don't suspend a guy that like somebody could have seriously been hurt. He could have hurt Cat, who one step over those size 15 shoes. If he was a size 16, he slips and hurts his knee, but you're gonna fine him $100,000. Get out of here. He is such a little bitch. I can't stand him. Mm-hmm. Or his inability to stand up to China with the Uyghur Muslims that are in concentration camps, won't say anything like that. Fine, like suspending Daryl Morey because he believes that you should free Hong Kong. Like, ugh.
Yeah. But it's sad because he just all the NBA's money comes from China. It doesn't come from the United States. It comes from all those shoe deals, all the shoes and jerseys they sell in China that are made by Chinese children.
Yeah, by slaves. And they're out here saying that that's the worst thing and this and that and a whole bunch of they
other
say
stuff.
America's the worst country in the world.
Mm-hmm. But then they're sitting out here promoting the Chinese economy. It's like, whatever.
Yeah. But my we'll see is, we talked about this earlier, is do the Celtics have a for sure closer? Because it should be Jason Tatum, but there's something about Duke guys that they don't have that killer instinct, but they got daddy's money. And then in clutch moments, who Jason Tatum claims that he has a very tight relationship with Kobe, texted him the night before one of the Game 7s or whatever it was. But
there's the Miami series.
Yeah, but but there's nothing to this point that we've seen that when the going gets tough, Jason Tatum shows up. He just kind of folds and disappears. Mm-hmm. Is Jason Tatum going to establish himself and be the guy? Because right now, if it goes to chalk, because I don't think the Celtics are going to have any trouble with Cleveland. I think Cleveland might win a game or 2 at home, but
I think they win one game at home.
There's no way this series should go by more than than five games.
Yep.
And I think this Knicks Pacers series, I mean, I think the Knicks win in 6. But in the end, I think that I almost want to take the Knicks because I think, for one, they have the better coach, and when it comes down to crunch time, everybody knows who's taking that final shot for New York. Who's taking that for Boston?
I mean, we don't know. And also, Porzingis, he's banged up. They don't have a big. I mean, old-ass Al Horford. I mean, sure, the guy tries hard, but if he plays for 30 minutes one game, he's going to need the next 3 days off because he's so tired. So, you're right. It'll be interesting. Another thing I want to see is also how this Oklahoma City series plays out. Are people finally going to are they going to be talking about this OKC team and giving Sam Presti his flowers for how he's built this team up twice? They went down a little bit. They lost Durant. They lost Westbrook. He tried to bring George in, yada, yada, yada. But he's built this thing up twice now, and I'm just intrigued to see if OKC keeps winning. When is Sam Presti going to get his flowers from the national media? Like the way Ant is Shea going to finally get up there and get his flowers for being an MVP candidate?
Well, that was one of my we'll see is OKC for real? Because and part of it is because I haven't watched them at all like this year. I watched them last night was the first time I've watched them play all year, and there's a reason why you can see watching them play. There's a reason why they were the 1 seed is they play together. They're unselfish. They share the ball. They don't care who gets the credit. And something that you're seeing a little bit more of a trend is with these like top 3 teams is they've been the most consistent. They defend and they defend and they have that closer in Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
They remind you of the way the San Antonio Spurs were built. I'm not saying they are the Spurs, but they're giving off San Antonio vibes. We'll say a poor man's San Antonio.
Yeah.
Also, just kind of the small market. They're going to play defense. They're going to do everything the right way. They're going to play together. You're getting those vibes. But again, I'm not going to compare them to one of the best dynasties the NBA has ever seen because that's just not fair. But those San Antonio vibes where they're always overlooked.
And they're always going to be in it, no matter what.
And they're always
you see them on the schedule, and it's like, oh, we have to play these guys.
Yes,
but I think that's what that wraps up our NBA talk. I don't know if you got anything else, Grant.
I'm just excited that it seems like the weather is finally turning around.
It is.
Be able to get outside and enjoy that nice weather outside.
It's mowing season, it's golf season, and finally we actually have some nice weather on the weekend where it was like only during the week the weather decided to be nice, and then on the weekends it was crappy. So finally this weekend we're going to get some nice weather. You got any plans for Mother's Day? You got your Mother's Day present already?
Still got to get that. We'll get it all taken care of. We'll get Mom a present here, and then we'll probably give her a call on Sunday, see how she's doing, and we'll go from there. And I will not be posting on social media like everyone else saying how much they love their mom, how loving she is, how hard she works. I will actually wait for it, pick up the phone, and call my mom herself.
Okay, so we get it. You don't
everybody can see it.
You don't actually like your mom. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Correct.
I kind of the and my dad just texted me some big news is that Michigan has another national champion, college golf, I guess. So,
what a year for the Michigan Wolverines, everybody.
I mean, we made it national champions in football. You know, we truly are the leaders and the best.
They fired Juwan Howard. That's a good year.
Yep, we got Dusty May. We're winning the college basketball offseason, which I'm told is just as praiseworthy as winning an actual national championship, according to Ohio State fans. And they made it to the Frozen Four in college hockey.
Yep.
And now they have a national champion in college golf. Like and people who know me know that Michigan has always been my favorite college golf program.
Golf team. Oh, 100%, dude.
Yeah.
We just need the Wolves or Oklahoma City to win the NBA title this year. And then we can truly say the Midwest is dominating sports in 2024.
That's right. Midwest is best. So
forget the rest. The Midwest is the best.
Yep. And I've also come to this realization that I think I've reached like a new stage of like old is that I feel the urge to, anytime I'm wearing a polo now, I have to tuck my shirt in. And it's weird that if I don't. And like oddly enough, I think I like tucking my shirt in.
So Dylan, are you wearing New Balances with high white socks?
No, not yet. I'm a bit of a snob when it comes to like apparel, like where I basically only wear Nike or Jordan stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd get the Air Monarchs instead of the white New Balances.
Okay.
But I also though too is when I get bored, instead of like playing Xbox or doing something that like 5 years ago me would do you know what I do now, Grant? I start cleaning my house. Like this is like I don't know if this is maturing or I'm just getting old or becoming a boomer. I get angry about little things, about stuff kids do, and I'm not sure how I feel about all this.
Dylan, you're going to need to get Progressive insurance here so you can stop acting like your parents.
They did send me something in the mail.
Is it Progressive? Yeah.
No. Is it?
Yeah, it's Progressive.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
It is. Dr. Rick, Progressive.
Like, I understand, yes, you're getting older and maybe you're getting closer to 30, but
and I own a house.
This is alarming.
This
is bad. You need to figure this out here quick, bud.
Like I had time to kill, and I exactly like 2 years ago, I would have stayed up till the conclusion, even though that Wolves game was over. But it was like, oh, I have to be up at like 4, so I probably should go to bed at 9:30. And what do you know?
This is alarming. This is alarming.
This is I'm starting to think like 6 o'clock is late now. It's like, oh, I don't want to cook. I don't want to have to do all this extra shit. Who knows? You know, I'm the of the 3 guys talking ball. I am actually the youngest.
You are the youngest,
based off of age. But I guess I'm the most mature. Maybe.
Like Ethan is definitely Ethan definitely acts like the old man the most. Because he won't do anything all day, and he'll say how exhausted he is.
No, but that's something though, like a young kid would say. The maturity level though is, you know, it's kind of the opposite. Though is like you could argue that Ethan might be the most immature out of all of us.
No, that's also fair.
Uh-huh.
What a time to be in.
Yeah,
the youngest is actually acting like the oldest, and the oldest is acting like the youngest. And I'm just the middle child nobody cares about.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But it is Mother's Day. on Sunday, so happy Mother's Day to all the wonderful mothers out there. Even if we don't post you on social media, we do still love you. Also, happy Nurses Appreciation Week and Teacher Appreciation Week, both. So thank you guys for all that you do. And let's wrap up the show here, Grant. What do you have for Curveball of the Week?
So I mentioned the weather was getting nice outside and stuff. Dylan, I want to know, what's the most underrated summer activity that we can do out here? Like something, that we only get to do for, let's say, 3.5 months out of the year. That's awesome to do, but nobody wants to talk about it.
Ooh. Well, I mean, golf, that's talked about all the time, so that's out of the question.
Yeah.
Of us, like if it was just our group, fishing. I love fishing. Going out there, hanging out, or going out to the lake, hanging out, and just sitting out there doing nothing.
Yep.
But if we're going underrated, underrated. This is something that I did like when I was like fresh out of high school, and like we did it in gym class for like 2 weeks. And something that was like, man, it kind of would be fun to get back into again. I'm gonna go with frolfing, frisbee golfing.
Okay.
Banging some
No,
chains.
that's a good one. Yes.
Uh-huh.
I actually went a couple times, not last summer, but 2 summers ago, with a friend. And God, you're right. It is a damn good time.
You don't usually lose your frolf discs. Your score is a lot lower. You don't get angry. So
correct. You're just kind of vibing. You're outside. Some people might have a cigarette, might have a vape. Some people might have a couple of beers. Life is good. Life is good.
But what is your underrated?
He bought a couple paddleboard. Those are always time. Around here. Summer 2020 was 4 years ago. The gyms were closed down. I spent a lot of hours just kind of ride bike. It was a lot of fun. You got fresh air. You got your music. You can listen to podcasts. You can get your headphones in. You can listen to a podcast. You can listen to some music. Nothing beats a good summer bike ride. Excited to be able to go back and do that again this summer. I wasn't able to last year with a knee injury.
Oh yeah, you're right. The knee injury is that and that's fully recovered. You can do like backflips and stuff now, right?
Yeah, just gotta be careful.
Okay, I kind of want to see that when I come here, which is crazy. I was talking to Ethan about it the other day that we're only like 5 weeks away from
5 weeks
from the Morgan Wallen concert, 5 or 6. So I think it'll be here before you know 6. Something like that, yeah. So, but I think that wraps up this week's episode of the Three Guys Talking Ball podcast. We'll check us out on all our socials. Thanks for tuning in on Facebook and YouTube. We'll have the actual podcast out later tonight or early tomorrow morning. So stay tuned for that if you missed it. But until next time, we will talk to you next time.